Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Sinato with Real Progressives. I'm a freelance journalist, and if you're watching this, you can see my work on the page almost every day. This afternoon, I have a special guest with us. It looks like we're having a little technical difficulties on my end, or at least I can't see Mr. Jaffe, so I don't know if you Ken, but our guest today is Nancy Pelosi's primary challenger out in California, Stephen Jaffe. So let me try to. So bear with me for the technical difficulties. I don't know if you can't see Mr. Jaffe, but I can't see or hear him. So bear with me for just a minute. Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, if the screen freezes or anything, or if you can't see me, just hit refresh and it should fix the problem. But Mr. Jaffe, thanks for being with us this afternoon. So could you start off by telling us a little bit about your background and what inspired you to run this congressional campaign to challenge Nancy Pelosi?
Thank you, Mike. President of San Francisco, and 46 of those 47 years I have been a lawyer here. I am a civil rights employment lawyer. I represent employees only in cases where people have been mistreated in the workplace. Most often they've been discriminated against because of their membership in a protected class of persons. Everybody pretty much knows that list. Age, race, gender, nationality, disability, pregnancy, marital status, sexual orientation in California, but not federally. I have been active in politics for about 5 years now. My wife and I and one other person formed Democratic clubs here in San Francisco, the current South Beach District 6 Democratic Club. I'm a pretty serious advocate for the mentally ill. I volunteer for the Animal Legal Defense Fund, and my wife and I live with a dog and 4 parrots. What inspired me to run? It was really kind of a 3-step process. I call it inspiration, outrage, and commitment. First, I was insulated by Bernie Sanders. I really not only like his politics and his policies, I like the guy. He was very refreshing, honest, direct, which is something I really strive to be in my the way I conduct myself. I was pretty outraged and angry when I felt that Bernie was cheated out of the nomination in July of last year. That's a long story. I think anybody who supported Bernie understands what I'm saying. I think Bernie should have won. And part of that has formed part of the planks, one of my planks in my platform about what happened there. The last kind of tipping point was November 8th when we all woke up totally incredulous and horrified by who had just been elected president. And Bernie had always said, don't just talk, walk, do something. So that's why I decided to run and follow his advice. So that's the short version of why I'm running. Why am I running here against this particular politician? Nancy Pelosi has been in the office for 30 years. She is unquestionably a national political figure, probably the poster person for the Democratic Party right now. And she is completely disconnected and out of touch with the voters of the 12th district here, who she's asking to elect her for the 6th I feel that I'm more closely in touch. I talk to them. I know what they want. And she has not been representing the views and values and wishes and hopes of the voters here. She's got more of a national presence. And I think I am better able to represent the voters here.
All right, we lost Mr. Jaffe for a second. Let me try to get him back on. Apologize for the technical difficulties that we're having. Sometimes this app runs smoothly, sometimes it depends on the people using the computer. So, but I mean, one of the questions I'm going to ask him in a moment when we get him back is, single payer healthcare and Nancy Pelosi have, been a controversial issue. She's claimed to support the concept. She's condescendingly claimed that she has supported single payer healthcare for decades, though, you won't be able to find any actual evidence of that because it's not true at all. Medicare for All has been introduced into the House, into Congress by Representative John Conyers every year since 2003. Not once has Nancy Pelosi signed on to co-sponsor it. So she doesn't support it. She doesn't secretly support it like a lot of conservative outlets reported. This week, there was allegedly a video that Keith Ellison in Minnesota was saying that Nancy Pelosi supports it in secret. How can you support something in secret? That doesn't make any sense, and she doesn't. She's never supported it. She doesn't fight for it. And the excuses she's given for it and other Democrats, other establishment Democrats, are awful excuses, are ridiculous. She has advocated for working within Obamacare and improving that, but that has, I'm sure many people know, was based on a plan from the Heritage Foundation based on Romney Care. It's a conservative plan. Here we go. All right. Sorry, Stephen.
Okay.
All right. We're back. But before we had the technical difficulties, I was, trying to keep our viewers engaged about, single payer healthcare and Nancy Pelosi's record on that. So I wanted to ask you, how you felt about her responses to it. She said that it should be up for the states to decide in a couple town halls. She said she supported the concept, but doesn't really support it. So she's given really politically filtered answers to try to sugarcoat her actually saying no. So, what are your thoughts?
Are we back? You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Well, Nancy Pelosi does not support single payer. When you ask her the question, you get a 5-minute, what I call it, a word salad of pretty much gibberish about how she once supported it, how she wants to support it in the future when the time is right. When you press her on it, she'll say, well, I sort of support it, but we're not ready yet. The fact is she doesn't support it. She's refused to co-sponsor John Conyers' bill, which is pending in the House, 676. She refused to endorse is opposed by the health insurance industry. the big farm by healthcare providers, and they give Ms. Pelosi millions of dollars, and they expect something in return for that. And what they expect in return is for Ms. Pelosi to guard the door of the Congress from the passage of single-payer health insurance.
Don't know what's wrong with this app. Okay. All right, so bear with us, but here he is. Okay, so we just lost you for a second, but I wanted to ask you in response to.
Did my answer get out there? Any of it?
We heard your answer. The last you mentioned was Nancy Pelosi's the campaign donations she receives. So I wanted to ask if you could discuss a little bit about your own efforts to get dark money out of politics in the San Francisco area, and if you could comment a little bit about Nancy Pelosi's relationship with campaign donors and all the elite fundraisers she's hosted for her own victory fund and for the establishment Democrats across the country this year and traditionally.
Right. Well, yes. Let's talk about the dark money first. Glad you asked that particular question. Last October, my little Democratic club that I'm now the president of, we passed a resolution requiring Democratic county chartered clubs to disclose where they're getting their money and how they're spending it. Because there was one club in particular which was being used essentially as a washing machine to launder about $1 million. And I worked very hard with some of its members, and we got that passed unanimously. So now every Democratic chartered club here in the county of San Francisco, and there's about 30 of them, must disclose where they're getting their money, what's the source of their revenue, and how they're spending it. This is a bright light on dark money and will help very much to eliminate it. Insofar as Nancy Pelosi and her relationship to this, she goes out and raises hundreds of millions of dollars, and she gets the fund, campaign fund, or what you call her victory fund. Then she disperses it to neoliberal, corporatist, elitist Democrats who agree to essentially follow her lead, doing things like blocking single payer, who will agree to follow and do what she wants. Once again, the money comes with strings. The money comes with strings. And I have some personal evidence of that, talking to some people who say to me, these are existing Congress people, who say to me, I would endorse you, but I can't afford to cross Ms. Pelosi. I agree with your policies, but I can't afford to have her get angry with me. So, and I essentially are saying I need her money. So I'm not taking corporate money. I wouldn't take money from Ms. Pelosi. Well, obviously she's not going to offer me money, but from anybody like her. And my campaign is run by individual contributions, very much the way Bernie Sanders' campaign was run.
What do you think the antidote is to getting rid of really I think that the best word for it is cronyism that Nancy Pelosi purports, and that Democratic Party leaders like her, they really call the shots and hold other Democrats on a leash in terms of what they can say, what they can do, and it really breeds an undemocratic system where, like we mentioned before, Bernie Sanders, was kind of cheated out of the nomination in favor of Hillary Clinton, who all these leaders wanted to nominate, and they really chose that they, treated the primaries like it was just a form I don't know how much of that you caught, but before my
None of it. It was about the what can we do to get rid of the cronyism?
what can we do to get rid of that type of
Right.
Democratic Party leadership where it's not at the benefit of Democrats or policies. It's really at the benefit of Nancy Pelosi's the boss, and she gets to call the shots. You can say the same about Chuck Schumer. You can say the same about what happened in California with Eric Bauman, and the California party chair race in this past May. So, what do you think are the solutions to getting rid of that type of leadership?
I have three answers. The first one is a plank in my campaign, which is I want to abolish superdelegates. I think they're undemocratic and they primary voters of their right to vote, really. The second thing they can do is that can be done is there's a lawsuit going on in Florida. Got brought by a lawyer named Jared Beck against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and the Democratic Party is taking that they have the right to go in the back room and fix the nominations, and that the primaries don't really count. That's outrageous, and if any way anyone can support that kind of litigation, and I wish Mr. Beck all the help. I've offered him my help. That success would change everything. And the third, and I think and the most important thing that can be done quite seriously, is elect progressives like me and all the other progressives that are running in the congressional races around the country. Because the more of Congress refuse to just become sheep and follow this lead, the more likely it is it's going to change. I think it is changing. I think there's a real wave of progressive Democrats rising up because of Trump's election, and I'm cautiously optimistic we can start bringing about change. I think this is the year to do it, and next year.
And what are some of the strategies for a grassroots campaign that your campaign is using in San Francisco? And what insight can you give us as to the reception of your campaign and the type of grassroots politics that you're championing in contrast to Nancy Pelosi?
Well, I'm a feet on the ground, or the street, I guess, the feet on the street guy in this campaign. I spend every day and almost every night out talking to people. Nancy Pelosi is really isolated and lives in a bubble. She will not hold a town hall with constituents. I doubt she will voluntarily debate me, which I dearly would like her to do. And so we just have completely different styles of how to represent the people here in the 12th district. I hold town halls. I'm going to talk to people on the street. I talk to people all the time. I'm very active on the social media, and I'll be out there and easy to find. I'm accessible. And somebody calls my phone number, I actually answer the phone. And if somebody writes me an email, I actually answer the email. So I'm seeing some questions coming up here. Want me to address some of those? Are you seeing those?
So if you want to ask, Rocco just asked, do you support a federally guaranteed living wage package job program? I'm guessing in general, if you could discuss what your perception, what your views are on the economic side of your platform.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of facets to my economic side. First, the whole budget. We have a federal budget that is dependent on an obscene amount of military spending. Obscene amount. And we're depending because instead of producing weapons, by the defense industry so we can use them when we need to. We are in a perpetual state of war in order to keep the defense industries running. And it's become a symbiotic relationship, and it's almost too big to fail. It's like the banks. So we've got to stop that. The amounts are obscene. It's 57% of Trump's proposed budget. The latest aircraft carrier that we built, the Gerald R. Ford, cost just short of $13 billion. There are whole federal agencies that could be funded for $13 billion. It's unimaginable what we could do with just one aircraft carrier. All right? I think we have to cut down the military spending and redirect that towards infrastructure. Back in Roosevelt's day, you had something called the WPA. To prepare the infrastructure, we ought to have maybe a national program, a Secretary of Infrastructure Repair. We have a Secretary of the Interior. You don't hear anything at all. All right. In terms of wages, let me talk about wages for a second. I have a minimum wage plan in my platform that calls for an immediate raise of the minimum wage to $15, but with a twist on it, an add. I want the minimum wage indexed to the cost of living in the location where it's paid. So if you're living in San Francisco, where it's horrifically expensive, you'll get more money than the guy living in Kansas or Alabama, where it's more reasonable to live. But the buying power of the minimum wage in both cities will be the same. The cost of living, both people getting the minimum wage, the indexed minimum wage, will be able to live comfortably on it. So that's my plan.
A couple. He does support single payer. I'm trying to address a few of the questions coming in, but in general, is there anything else you would like our viewers to know about your campaign or about the policies that you're pushing for within it?
I support Medicare for all. The guy just asked a question. Do I support Medicare for all? Yes, I do. Without raising taxes. No, there'll probably have to be an increased payroll tax, but that will still be cheaper for everybody in the United States because guess what we won't be paying anymore? Insurance premiums. No one will have to pay any insurance premium. So if you're paying an insurance premium for health insurance and Medicare for all comes in, you no longer have to pay insurance premiums. You may have to pay some kind of a modest tax. I pay Medicare, and I pay a very modest amount for that, but it's about 10% of what I would have to pay if I was buying private health insurance. So there will be a savings for Medicare for all, but there will be a tax.
All right, and just my last question. Could you let people know how they could support your campaign or learn more about your campaign? And do you have any events in the San Francisco area that you want to plug or anything like that?
My website is Jaffe, my last name, Jaffe, the number 4 and the word Congress.com. The donation site for my campaign is donate.jaffeforcongress.com. I have an event. I don't have any main events coming up because this is the time I go out to other events and visibility. But I would strongly encourage people to go to the website. And I'm getting asked a lot of questions here. And please go to the website, jaffeforcongress.com, or on Facebook, where we are now, which is just Jaffe for Congress. There is very detailed laid out what my campaign planks and policies are. And if anybody has any questions about them, I think that will be explained there.
And for anyone watching that and have any questions based on the platform, Mr. Jaffe is pretty, receptive on Twitter and through his campaign email. So, from what I've seen, you haven't shied away from answering any questions, which is, something rare that you see political candidates, and I think that's something to, praise and be endeared. So I thank you for that. For anyone watching, go on, check out and learn more about Mr. Jaffe's campaign. Mr. Jaffe, thanks. Thank you for taking the time out of your afternoon to speak with us. My last question is, when is the primary that you're running against Nancy Pelosi, so people can just have that in their heads to when to start really, focusing towards
the
that.
The primary is June 5th, 2018. And I will just add one more thought to people. This will just take a second. This election here, me against Ms. Pelosi, is really it's being described by many people, including national press, as a referendum on who's going to lead the Democratic Party into the future. It's not about me. It's really about who she is and what she represents. And should she continue to be elected for the 16th time to the Congress and continue with the same kinds of policies and programs that have failed miserably over the last few years. So that's my last thought.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jaffe, and thank you for everyone tuning in. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be on, I believe, at 9:30 a.m. With Paul Clements, who is running for Congress. Tune into that. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.